This is the $1 million question, maybe the $1 trillion question. This is so critical for people to hear.
We're giving you the inside track on health and wellness so that you can get back to the life you deserve. It's time to take back your power. The doctors.
The doctors. The doctor is in, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Ian Smith.
Hey.
Wow.
What's up, Dr. Smith?
What an intro, y'all. What an intro.
Hey, yo, let me tell you something, man. Ian, I miss you. And that's what that intro is. I miss you. I haven't seen you. I watch you. I follow you. But I miss you. And so that's what that intro is. That's your homie saying, man, welcome back to the show.
I appreciate that, y'all. It's good to be back. And, I was just telling someone else, this is the time of year when I get a new book out that I am in the studios with my friends because you guys are like my family, And so, I go to my same places and we have a good time. We catch up and stuff like that. And, COVID has really, messed up a lot of stuff. I mean, first of all, it's 240,000 of our fellow Americans. That's the biggest number that we need to pay attention to. But also the loss of life experience and being able to do things we're used to. So I'm grateful we can do it via phone. But, I miss you guys in studio, hanging out, taking pictures. It's just our whole thing that we took for granted was a normal way of living. You look back and say, man, remember when we used to do this and do that? So I'm glad to be with you guys.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to open up these phone lines. Citizens, Dr. Ian Smith has said any advice you need from him in terms of your health and wellness. You brought up COVID, and COVID has just been so perplexing, especially to your average citizen who doesn't have maybe the medical knowledge that you would have, or even some of the stuff we're hearing spewing on the news networks and even from politicians. It's so perplexing and confusing. And one of the people at the center of all of this is Dr. Fauci. You're a doctor, Dr. Ian Smith. He's come under a lot of criticism. He's also had the opposite of people who just tend to want to just listen to him. In your opinion, this has been a difficult situation, but as a doctor, how has he handled or how has he performed during this time period at his role?
Well, this is a great question, Sway. I got to tell everybody, first of all, everyone has to understand that the reason why we call this the novel coronavirus is not because of novel like a book, novel meaning new. So this was something even new to doctors. Even guys like Fauci, who've been in the business for over 40 years. I interviewed Fauci when I was a medical correspondent for NBC News. This guy is one of the best in the world. He has the credentials par excellence. It's unbelievable. Now, that being said, no one really was prepared to understand how this thing works. What people really witnessed, Sway, was the medical and scientific establishment learning on the fly because we had never seen something like this before. And so I believe that one of the biggest problems that we've had is that politics entered into an arena that should have been only about the facts of medicine and science. So here you have a guy who has a sterling reputation, by the way, in his specialty, who all of a sudden gets compromised by politics, right? He's got to sit back and he's got to watch what he says. He's got to be careful not to offend. Yet at the same time, he's got to protect us. I mean, his job is to give us the best information that is scientifically based and not politically based. So given all the restraints and given all the pressures that he had, I got to say I think he's done a really, really good job. It's not easy to be – everyone says, well, he should have done this. He should have done that. Let me tell you something. Until you walk in another man's shoes, it's very difficult to criticize them. This guy did the best he could given the hand that he had been dealt. And by the way, it wasn't a good hand from the standpoint of the virus, and it definitely wasn't a good hand from the standpoint of politics because he got compromised politically.
Wow. Oh, man. Dr. Ian Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Ian Smith.
That's crazy.
What do you think? I know that is crazy. This is somebody we know, Heather. Dr. Ian Smith has been on our show and then he got the credentials to match. And then,
well, yeah, that's the thing, Sway. And I'm sorry to cut you really quickly, but I think what's most fascinating to me that even though like Dr. Ian Smith is family to us and our friend, and we get to hang around and laugh with him and can ask him serious medical questions on the show when we have the opportunity, but to hear another professional with a sterling reputation as well compliment and acknowledge another physician the way Dr. Ian Smith just did to Dr. Fauci, and people still not wanting to listen, is fascinating to me. Like, it's fascinating.
Let me tell you this. If you go back to my Instagram page, and for those who don't follow, my Instagram is at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. Back in March, I said to everyone, speaking scientifically, not speaking on opinion and based on what people wanted, I said that we were in it for the long haul. And the reason we were in it for the long haul is because this virus is so transmissible. It's so contagious. And because people are not going to want to do what it takes to slow the transmission down. I said it early. I said, people, buckle in for the long haul. Start working on projects. Like I've been working on projects at home, working out, writing my books, because we're here. And this is not something I wanted, by the way. My goodness, who wants this? I didn't want this. You know, when doctors are delivering bad news, we take no joy in delivering news that things are going to be rough. And I think that people are experiencing pandemic fatigue, where they're so tired and so stressed out that they start thinking, well, maybe the doctors, this is a conspiracy. The doctors want us, to do something, bad things that happen. No, guys. Listen, our job is to make life easier and better and longer for everybody, no matter what religion you follow, what walk of life you come from, what politics you have. We don't care about that. We care about you as a human being. And so doctors from the very beginning, the real doctors from the very beginning have been saying, guys, there are things we need to do to slow this down so we don't keep losing lives, so businesses don't get shut down. And what happened was, early in the process, the politicians took the lead on a conversation that was scientific. Well, let me tell you something. If the economy is in the toilet, or if we're at war, let's say we're at war, do you want doctors to stand up and take the lead in the conversation and talk about how we're going to fight a war? Absolutely not. So why should the country accept that politicians are making policy and leading the conversation about a health challenge? It's ridiculous. It's upside down.
Dr. Ian Smith is here. So let me ask you this, because politicians have now politicized Pfizer's announcement that the results of the data that they received from testing out a new vaccine, and said it was politically announced after the election. So they politicized this development. What are your thoughts on the vaccine? The fact that it was actually, they've come this close so fast. And what advice would you give people who are apprehensive about a vaccine and being in the first round of testing?
On the show, on the Doctors, we talk about the vaccine often. We talk about treatments because we want to give people real scientifically based information. Listen, this is almost a record for the ability to go from zero starting point to where we are now in developing a vaccine. Vaccine, on average, guys, takes 4 to 5 years to develop, even if you can develop one. You don't know how many vaccines that were attempted to be developed that never ended up making it because it was too hard or the science didn't work out. So the fact that they did it this fast, first of all, I tip my hat to them. That's a great accomplishment. It shows you what we can do when we're focused and determined and working together. Now, the sad part of it is this. Because there was so much political conversation, because there was so much speculation and anger about the vaccine, people now are uncertain if they're going to take the vaccine. So the one thing we actually need to help us get out of this thing, a lot of people, understandably so, are saying, I ain't taking that vaccine. You got Russia, for example, developing a vaccine in what seemed like 4 hours, okay? And then all of a sudden they said, we got the vaccine. Listen, vaccines take time to develop. And the reason why the scientists were pushing back is they were trying to explain to people, not only is it getting the right formula, you got to test it. You got to have a certain number of people to test the vaccine. Then you got to review and analyze the results. You got to tweak the formula maybe. You got to test it again. This is a process. And the fact that politicians would stand up in the microphone on camera in front of a country that desperately was looking for answers, in which people are dying, and to sit there and politicize the vaccine and give false information about the vaccine and false hope, this is why we're in this mess now. So here we are now. Pfizer says that they feel like they got a good shot at it. Great. But guess what, guys? Now you got to develop it. You got to produce hundreds of millions of doses. That can take months and months and months, because not only is America looking for the vaccine, the world needs the vaccine. The second part of it is you got to convince people to take it. right? In order for the vaccine to be effective, we need 2/3 of the country to take the vaccine. By my ascientific survey, 2/3 of the country right now, from what I've seen, is not excited about taking the vaccine. So that's another hurdle. So, yeah, it's good news from Pfizer. We're very happy about it. I'm first in line to be happy about it. But the process has to play out, and people can't expect that it's going to be an overnight fix for a problem that we've been dealing with too long.
Dr. Ian Smith is here. We're celebrating the 2000th episode tomorrow of The Doctors, plus his new book, The Unspoken, and Ash Kane novel. Nate Nathaniel is on the line. You got a quick question? I want to do quick questions because there's a lot of folks on the line. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right. Hey, peace and blessings. Glad to be with you guys. Real quick, I mean, compared to North Korea with a population of 50 million, they had a national plan, and they only had 300 people die. We obviously have a lack of failing, but there's hope with the Biden administration. What do you think a national COVID response plan might look like under the Biden administration?
Great question. I'll be quick with it, too. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to have to figure out some type of lockdown. I know people don't want to hear that word. I know it gets people, really upset. But in order to really stop this virus from going from person to person, state to state, the country together has to shut down. England has done it. France has done it. Spain, Italy. Listen, if all these great other powers are doing this, why are we in America not doing it? What do we know that's different and so special that we realize that we think that lockdowns don't work? Yes, it's going to be painful for all of us, but we get through it together, and then we can get out of it. That's number one. Number two, I think that what they'll do is the vaccine will come. The new coronavirus task force that they're naming is really real scientists, by the way, led by real scientists, okay? And that task force is going to know how to do public health, which is what we've missed. There's a way of doing public health. So with the combination of us shutting down a little bit for a short period of time and the vaccine, we can get through this. But it's a 1-2 punch, and people are going to have to accept it, and we got to do it together.
There you go, man. Nate, thank you for your call. You're a citizen, brother. I appreciate you.
In the morning.
Tracy, you want to dive in there?
Yes, definitely. Dr. Ian Smith, always appreciate you per usual. I saw a lot of different reports over the weekend, actually, about many COVID-19 patients later developing mental illness. And I have no idea what this has to do with, if it's a survivor's remorse. Have you seen these studies?
Yes, I have. And let me tell you something. On the show, actually, we talked to long haulers. And long haulers are people who they've recovered, so they've gotten through the virus, and, the virus is no longer inside of them. However, they're suffering from long-term complications. One of those complications is mental illness. And this is what I'm trying to explain to people. Everyone keeps focusing. You hear people say, yeah, why are they making such a big deal about it? Most people who get it, they're going to recover. Yeah, that's true. They are going to recover. The question is, what does the recovery look like? What people are not talking about, and we do on the show, is people who, for example, now have diabetes. They didn't have diabetes before, but now after COVID they do. They now have lungs that are scarred, and so they need oxygen because their lungs are scarred down from the virus. There are people who now have mental health issues as a result of the virus. So all these things are long-term consequences that we're seeing in some patients, not everybody, of course, but some patients, and this is why we're telling people, if you have the attitude that, I know all these people, this coach, he got it, he's still alive, so if I get it, I'll be fine, so I don't have to do follow all these regulations. That's a really dangerous approach because a lot of people are suffering long-term consequences.
Wow. See, that's information that's not really being properly publicized. That messaging, we don't hear that. I haven't heard that. And Tracy,
not at all.
You just read it. Dr. Ian Smith is here. Daryl, you got a quick question? Daryl's in North Carolina.
Hey, Daryl.
Yeah, how you doing today, guys? How you doing, Sway and the family? I love you guys. Doc, I just got a quick question. Why should we as Americans be more afraid of COVID when I don't know the numbers right off the top of my head, but thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people die from influenza a year. So it seems like people are going to die from sickness no matter.
Sure. And for those who don't follow me, I answer a lot of these questions. If you don't get to your questions, hit me up on Instagram. I try to answer as many as I can at Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor out. Let me explain something to you. Up to about 60,000 people a year, 60, 61, 60, depending on the year, die of influenza every year, okay? COVID now is up to 240,000 people, okay, with no end in sight unless we end up getting a vaccine or, participate in the mitigating factors of shutting down. So I know people want to make this argument, well, the flu kills people every year, and we don't go crazy about that. Well, actually, we do talk about flu a lot. We tell people to get their flu shots all the time. I'm out there every year saying, please, people, get your flu shot. It kills people. The flu typically kills people who are immunocompromised, which means their immune systems are weakened. It kills the elderly, and it kills the young. However, this is a very different disease. COVID is a different disease. The flu kills people, but people recover from the flu, and they don't have long-term consequences from it, right? The vast majority of people get the flu, they finish it, they're done, they're fine. We're seeing people with COVID who are recovering, who have heart disease now. They have a blood vessel disease. So there's a big difference, and I don't think people should make that comparison between the flu and COVID and say, well, the flu numbers are bad too. You're not, sounding the alarm. Yeah, we are sounding the alarm, but it's a very different virus, and people have to take COVID very seriously, particularly African Americans, by the way, who are dying at a much higher rate because of underlying medical conditions. That's another thing that we got to keep hitting. We really need to pay attention and not take this like, it's just a thing, just a virus, I'm going to get over it. No, we have brothers and sisters who are dying all the time, and we need to pay attention.
Hey, Daryl, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because that same flu narrative has been going on since February, and when this thing first started breaking out, and we kept saying that the numbers that Dr. Ian Smith has just quoted you, it hasn't even been a year. Think about that, D. So you're saying 60,000 may lose their lives because of the influenza, in a year? We're at 240,000, bro. And the year ain't over. The flu and COVID are two different things, bro.
Yeah.
They're two different things. I'm saying this to you because I don't want you to go around and get caught up in that all that trickery that's going on. I want you to be safe, bro.
Oh no, I'm an avid mask wearer. I'm just talking about for the rest of the population. It's kind of hard surviving another shutdown when the U.S. only cutting one check. Yeah,
and Daryl, you are absolutely right. And this is where I'm saying that we've had bad leadership, because I'm one person, guys. This is my opinion. I'm not perfect. My opinion is that in order for this to work for everybody, we got to freeze everything, which means that all bills frozen, loans, mortgages, car notes frozen, electric bill frozen. All those things have to be frozen at once. You just can't have it frozen for some and not frozen for the others. So in order for a shutdown to work, Daryl, I agree with your point. We got to do it together, which means you can't come after me about payments and credit card bills and give me late fees when someone else is still able to work and I can't work. So I just think that we got to do it together. And this is the biggest question for the country is, do we have the appetite to really work together? This is a test, by the way. God's amazing. To me, this is a test from the universe saying, hey, America, you always talk about how powerful you are, how strong you are, how you're the world superpower. Let's see how good you really are. This is a test for us, guys. This is a test not just from coronavirus. It's a test with the election and post-election. This is a test. Let's see how we do. I hope we do great. I know we can do great, but let's see what happens.
There you go, Dr. Ian Smith. I'll take one more because I got time for it. Joel is in El Paso. Joel, you got a question?
What's up, Joe?
Yeah, I had a quick. How's it going, guys? Just a quick question, Dr. Ian Smith. You mentioned earlier that COVID-19 causes diabetes, but I don't see any research-based evidence that that's true. How is it that COVID-19 is causing diabetes? Is it diabetes type 1 or type 2?
Well, the reason why you don't see any research-based evidence is because it's too new. Okay, so the researchers are doing the research right now. Everything you're seeing is anecdotal. Do you know what that means? That means it's observational. So right now, when you talk about research, and we don't want to get into the technicality of research, but what happens is when doctors and scientists are seeing things for the first time, these are observational. Now, what happens is they then enter studies. I know several places that are doing studies on COVID and diabetes as a consequence, but those studies take time. Those studies don't happen in 2 months or 3 months. Sometimes these studies may take a year, 8 or 10 months. So be patient, okay? The kind of the underpinning of what you're trying to say is, this is another assertion that people are making about COVID, and there's no research to back it up. I get your tone. I understand that. I get it. But you know what? Before you cast aspersions or doubt, Let's wait. Let the scientists do their work. This is the whole point. Give scientists time to do what they do like they've been doing for centuries. Now, all of a sudden, because we're in COVID and because this has gotten politicized, people want scientists to operate at the speed of light. Science doesn't work that way. Science does not work because you want it to work. Science doesn't work because you got an election deadline. That's not science. Real science takes time in laboratory. Talk to the researchers. Talk to the guys who are in the lab, the men and women who every day go to a lab and spend hours and hours in front of test tubes, okay, and micropipettes and looking through microscopes. It takes time, guys. So I get my man's question. I know what he's really trying to say. You know, you don't see the research yet. Let the research happen. At the end of the day, maybe it's not going to end up being. But right now, doctors are reporting, which is how research starts, that they're seeing people get through COVID and have complications, and one of those is diabetes. That's just how it is.
Nope.
Hey, hold on 1 second. Okay, Joel. Okay, Joel, you're a citizen, bro. Okay.
Sway in the morning.
Thanks, Joel.
Man,
we needed that question to get that answer.
Good question.
I'm so glad Dr. Ian Smith breaking it down this way. I had a very close family member, Dr. Smith, who is in tip-top shape, and he contracted COVID, and he called me in tears and said, I thought I was going to die. I have never experienced anything like this before in my life. And when I tell you tip-top shape, he doesn't even eat mayonnaise. He frowns at mayonnaise and working out an hour and a half a day and contracted COVID, and his entire family told me he thought he was going to die. So this ain't nothing to play with.
And let me tell you something. The people who go through it, like The Rock, like Chris Cuomo, the people who really go through, my twin brother, the people who go through it, they will tell you it is nothing like they have experienced before.
Yep.
And people who don't have it or have not gotten it, they have to be respectful of the experiences of these people who aren't making this up. Why would your cousin make that up? Right? He got no reason. I mean, this is just truth. My twin brother said he felt like he was going to die.
Yes.
I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is, I get a little animated about this because it's so outrageous that people have decided to take something that is killing people and make it a political issue. It is so disgusting on so many levels. And let me end this COVID conversation. I want to say one thing about my book before we go. Let me end the COVID conversation by saying this. Around the tables this year at Thanksgiving and Christmas, there are going to be empty seats around people's tables this year. Okay?
Yep.
240,000 people are in the ground. And I'm here to tell you that they didn't have to be in the ground, that we failed those people. And the more we argue about this thing and the more we politicize it and you versus me and blah, 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 is the more people we're going to put in the ground. People need to look in the mirror and ask themselves what's more important. And to me, as a physician and a human being, life is always the biggest thing. Always. I will take a hit somewhere else, but when it comes to life, whether it's your life or my life, that's most important to me because we got only one of them. We can't get it back. Those 240,000 plus, and it's going to go higher, they can't come back, by the way. We can get another sports season, by the way. Oh, we can get another season of basketball and football, and the colleges can play again. That's going to come back. But those people aren't coming back. Don't ever forget that. That's it.
Dr. Ian Smith, man, real quick. Thank you. Hey, listen, citizens, the lines are lit up. So Andre and Cali, Tito in Detroit, Chris in Connecticut, Joe in Buffalo, Al in Philly, Shayna in Iowa, Shayna and Sean in Brooklyn. Hit up Dr. Ian Smith. Tell them how they can reach you, Dr. Ian Smith. He'll respond to anybody who hit him right now.
Yeah, go on Instagram at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. Send me a DM. Follow me, send me a DM. And I will get to your questions. And listen, guys, it's great talking to you. I'll do it again. I also want to encourage you guys to pick up my new novel. Sorry to get a chance to talk about it, but it's called The Unspoken. It's a lot of fun. It's a mystery. The brother is the investigator, who's a private investigator, who used to be a police detective. He takes on really great cases around Chicago. Just got optioned to become a TV show. So go to Amazon.com and please check out The Unspoken.
The Unspoken, man. Thank you. Congratulations on your literary career, too. It's awesome, man. That is so awesome.
Wow.
Dr. Ian Smith breaking down these atoms for you. Hit them up directly. And congratulations on the 2000th episode. Take your power back. The doctors. There you go. Appreciate you, brother. Be safe, okay?
I love y'all.
Love you
too.
Yeah, man.